So what was that, Don?
That's and realistically, that's the number one reason why you shouldn't put random things in your butt. But go ahead and start recording. We can kick off the podcast when you want.
All right, yeah. Here we go. All right, and yeah, we're recording.
All right. Well, you're gonna do an intro, so
Well, yeah, of
do your
course.
intro.
Thank you all for joining. Two Marines, one cup.
Look, there's the cup.
We're going to be trying to give a lot of factual and historical reference to a lot of things that I feel like are very important for today. The main thing is, well, society and how it all is structured and how we work, and hopefully also ways that we can make it better because God knows we're on a real downward slide right now. And the more you know, like I say, the more you know, the better you can address things as they come. So hopefully we will be arming everyone with some power today. You can totally hear that I'm watching Avengers Endgame, right?
Not very well.
Not very well. Nah.
I mean, I knew you were watching something.
Great movie, by the way. I
I'll
decided
know
to.
when you're watching it. When you, yeah, I'll know you're. I know when you watch it when you look past the phone because I can totally tell.
Oh no, I got to watch the whole screen and everything too, so I'm not always looking directly in the camera. A good actor never looks directly in
Even
the
my
camera. So I was. I don't know if I ever told you. I actually tried to start a whole blog on that a long time ago. I love the cup today, by the way.
Oh yeah, see, it's got a smiley face.
Oh yeah.
It's my dollar store mug. They were on sale after Halloween.
Yeah, they got some really good ones now. Actually, they really do.
That one was a dollar at Family Dollar, so
Nice.
or Dollar
Um,
General. I don't know the dollar store. The dollar store is not a dollar, unlike the $1.25 store that is supposed to be a dollar.
well, yeah.
Can't mistake the two.
There's a lot of people that were upset over that change to $1.25. The funnier thing is they even
Right,
have stuff in there as was it dollar plus, and it's $2, $3 more.
right.
Yeah. But if you get a chance, they sometimes have these.
I don't trust your cat. I'm putting my coffee up here.
Oh, what are they? What are they called? The little.
Look, Mark wants to say hi. Can you see? Oh, hold on. There's Mark.
Hey, Mark. They have the little buns, like the Asian buns.
Oh yeah.
Those are good. Well, we digress though. So,
Oh, anyway, the topic that I really wanted to discuss: why didn't Anakin just quit the Jedi Order?
why didn't
I mean,
Anakin?
they turned their back on giving him a promotion. He had a hot wife who was rich. Like, why didn't he just walk away? That would have ended the whole thing. It's not like they could have taken away his lightsaber. Just walk away. Hot wife. Go live on Naboo somewhere.
Well, I think the Jedi Order wanted him, and of course, the Sith wanted him. So there's no walking away from all that.
Oh, there is. There is. It's I retire. Or in our case, give me my DD 214. I'm leaving.
I don't think they had that kind of relationship.
Oh, he had pulled off the rank of general by the time he was what, like 22. He did his time.
He did his 4 years.
Just walk away. Just walk away.
That would have been cute. Uh, but I think, yeah, the topic we were on, though, was what we were talking about was the common law origins of the Bill of Rights. That's what we were talking about, right?
That's what you wanted to talk about. Yes.
That's what I wanted to talk about, yeah.
since you're the one who's going to be editing everything, we'll let you talk.
Aw, thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Because if I get too off the rails, you'll just edit it out anyway. Fucking bastard.
Oh no, it's all going in raw.
Well, the important thing is that I had to make sure I dropped my F-bomb out the gate.
Did you
You
already? I don't even
PG-13
notice.
rating. Yeah, I just said fucking bastard.
Oh, there we
Yeah.
go. Okay,
Yeah,
there it is.
And then I repeated it.
Yes.
So we are clear of that PG-13 rating. It is gone.
Just gone right out the gate.
I would just show some nipples, but apparently man nipples still are in the PG-13 category. It's only female nipples that are in the R category.
That's an unfair thing.
However, still to this day, one of my favorite movies. Have you ever seen Paint Drying? It's a movie.
Paint drying?
Yep. They produced it in Britain.
No, I've never seen that
It was
one.
a movie. Yeah, it's 12 and a half hours of paint drying.
Wow, so you can actually watch it in time lapse, the paint dry.
No, not in time lapse. It was real time.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah, the guy did it because 12 hours. Yeah, the guy did it because the British Censorship Bureau, whatever they call themselves. So he was pissed off at them, and so he made and produced, and so it was released. Which means, in order for them to give it a rating, they had to watch every second to make sure there wasn't anything obscene in there. So they had to watch 12 hours of paint drying.
That's brilliant.
Yep, he did it just for the sole purpose of wasting their time.
I love it. That's brilliant.
Oh, anyway, speaking of common law,
Well, yeah.
their definition of common law by the things that you can and cannot say on TV during certain times, and
your video
is the correct one.
Oh, there you are. You're back now.
Yeah,
it just straight up froze with you like this.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I thought it froze with you like that, but you'd paused. I was like, oh, that was a good pause.
I don't think we should beat the dead horse of the evolution of common law in Europe, but if you really want to watch 12 hours of paint drying, look at the history of common law and how it evolved over about 1,000 years. And I think it didn't even get a name until the 1700s as common law. Maybe it was because it.
Just to clarify, we are talking about laws that are viewed as common and not common law marriage.
Yes, we are not talking about common law marriage.
I told him about
it. We are talking about the.
So I was like, you mean like common law marriage? And I was like, no, that's not what Blake wants to talk about. So, in the event that anybody actually watches this, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about laws that are common, not common law marriage.
Yeah, the common laws of man, as they were put at one point. I think prior to the 1700s, there was the King's Law, which was what most of the countries in Europe were using. And there was also a separation between the Church's law and the King's Law. 1700s is about when it all merged together under the common law. Around the same time, Parliament, and all that kind of stuff was evolving in Europe, anyway. Most of those.
Magna Carta.
Right,
Sorry,
right.
Go ahead.
Magna Carta was based off of it. But that's all the things that.
Yeah, so the Magna Carta was actually, so the king that ruled Britain before the king that had to sign the Magna Carta. I don't remember which king signed the Magna Carta, but it was Richard III. He was the one who was always away on
one of those dicks, right?
yeah, one of the dicks. So anyway, he was super popular during his reign. And of the 10 years he was on the throne, he was only physically in England for 3 months
Oh,
of the
wow.
10 years that he was on the throne. And he was more popular than the king that followed him, which had to sign the Magna Carta because he was so unpopular.
Oh, what does that say then? We all like our absentee kings.
Well, an absentee king lets the people rule themselves, and therefore they figured out a common law to do it. Look,
Exactly.
segue. Ha!
Aha! Uh, no, yeah, it's. I think that.
I want to say it was one of the Henrys that
Well,
signed the Magna Carta.
I think it's all a. I think really the jump from like the King's Law and the Church's Law was the Renaissance and the Enlightenment period, and then the modern era. Uh, like you said, self rule and self government. The
But you forgot the one thing that was in there that nobody expected:
what's that?
the Spanish Inquisition.
No
Nobody
one
expects the
expects the
Spanish
Spanish
Inquisition,
Inquisition.
but it was there. It was there.
uh, I
And it also was one of the driving forces behind common law because, church law was,
brutal,
burning people.
very
Yeah.
brutal.
So
The
people were like, no, we're not a huge fan of the church law.
that's for a whole other podcast than this one, I suppose. A lot of what you can see, a lot of the uh, actually
I'm watching your fingers.
decent,
You're losing track of your sentence.
yeah,
I saw that.
a lot of the
You totally
decent.
lost track of your sentence when you watch TV.
It was a cool scene. What can I say?
I told you, I can see you when you're doing it.
Come on, Thor batter up with a hammer and his axe. Come on,
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
that's a good scene. Uh, a lot of the morality, what's upheld as virtue and values that the church originally espoused, or religion in general espoused, did make their way into common law. I think it's because a lot of that is just also the evolution of human beings, and our desire for society is expressed in those things. Maybe not how it was enforced. We can all agree the Inquisition in general, the Crusades, and all those things were probably bad moves, and the tyranny of the church there for a while. It as it was losing grip on its power that it had taken for itself. Uh, it's a very sad time frame in history, but uh, I think that all of that is what evolved into our original Bill of Rights and Constitution. I think that's kind of a culmination of it all, into the whole experiment of self-governance. And I,
Self-governance. Did you know that there was a pope in about 400 AD
mhm,
that wrote a whole big thing on stop being pee-pee touchers?
not being pee-pee touchers.
Yeah, there's a pope, and he wrote this whole thing on how they need to get the issue of child molestation under control within the church.
Sounds like a decent guy then.
About about 1600 years ago.
So they wait.
He was decent.
So
Obviously not effective, but
so
decent.
so hold on. 1600 years ago, they recognized that there was a problem within the church of people being pee-pee touchers and pedophiles,
Yeah, yeah,
and they
yeah.
still haven't gotten that shit fixed.
Well, that's why we switched over to common law versus church law, right?
Right? Yeah. Jesus Christ. That's eye opening, Don. Thank you for sharing that. I am definitely going to be
Yeah,
looking that one up now.
yeah, yeah. It's I want to say it was 400 AD.
That's fucking
It was
terrible.
a really early pope
No, we got three
who
f
was
bombs
like, you
now.
guys need to knock this off,
Yeah,
huh?
we got three f bombs now. I couldn't restrain myself.
Oh, I'm gonna say I knocked out four, just making sure I knocked out the F bomb, but whatever you're counting. For the record, the censors count each one, even if I'm just repeating what I originally said, as its own separate incident.
Well, of
Thank you.
course.
Don't be selling me short.
I'm sorry. I would never do that. Well, to get back on track, I suppose, and away from pee-pee touchers.
It's exactly what they did with the church. I'm kidding. They never changed.
Yeah, it still hasn't been done effectively. The One of the biggest things I think that common law was able to understand was everyone has all of their rights all the time. And the law is not meant to have just straight up defined punishments. So that's one of the things I find when lawyers and the judges and everything try to set these precedents. Yeah, you can have a precedent that was an effective idea at the time. But that does not mean you should have defined punishments. So, for instance, mandatory minimum sentences and things like that. This is ignorant, stupid behavior. Because what the judge was meant to do was compare how people's rights interacted. So, if a crime was determined to have been committed, the judge was meant to say, well, this person has all of his rights and this person has all of this rights. So, how did they interact and what went wrong? And determine an applicable punishment based upon that. And I feel like that's been lost on so many people now. Oh, and there he
You'll see me.
goes. You,
Oh, damn it.
yep, you disappeared.
Didn't make the camera go away. Ah, that's bullshit. That means I can't look shit up.
What do you mean?
Can you look shit up?
I probably can, yeah. What do you want me to look up?
Find out when the U.S. instituted mandatory minimum sentences.
Yeah, you got it.
I'm thinking it was the mid 90s. Late 80s, mid 90s is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, so there were no federal crimes when the first Congress convened.
I'm talking about much more recent.
Oh, yeah. All right, and there were only 7 offenses as of the 1790 Crimes Act that carried a mandatory death penalty. So, treason, of
Yeah,
course, being one of them and
so
all that.
basically what I remember is I remember this big old push when I was a kid. And it was a tug of war between the voters and the state. And ultimately what it came down to was the state was saying judges are being bribed, criminals are being let off easy, therefore we need mandatory minimum sentences for X, Y, and Z. When in reality what it was the federal prison program had just switched over to privatized prisons, and all of a sudden they needed more bodies to make it more profitable.
Yeah. Oh, and then
And so
1820.
coincidentally,
I found something new. So in 1825, because they felt like the mandatory minimum sentencing of the 7 laws that had a mandatory minimum sentence, They reduced it down to 3 in 1825. So they reduced the number of minimum sentencing because they felt like that was too far, having
Yes.
7 minimum sentences.
Until,
And then
well,
after the Civil War, it was
yeah, those mandatory
1861.
minimum sentences were all life sentence bullshit.
Oh, wait, no. After the Civil War, they changed that. So mandating a death sentence for spies.
Yeah, again, treason.
Yeah.
That's all. I'm talking about mandatory minimum sentences for like stupid shit, non federal shit. I'm talking like
Right.
I don't know. You know what I'm getting at? Like I can't even think of something. Everything I can think of is all fucking federal.
Oh, 1951.
Because
Uh, yeah, so before 1951, it was only things then like a federal treason, like mass murder, piracy, rape, or slave trafficking, uh,
and what in
and
1951, what did
counterfeiting,
they advance it to?
and counterfeiting. So those were the only things that had any kind of minimum sentence. Uh, and it was because of the Narcotic Drugs Import and Export Act. Mandatory minimum penalty of 2 years. And then in 1956, it raised it to 10 years. And that's when it all started ramping up. So 1951 forward for non-treasonous or, depriving a person of their life or liberty, uh, they started ramping up minimum sentences for crimes such as that. So that's when it started.
So McCarthyism.
Yeah,
So it's tied to McCarthyism.
tied to McCarthyism.
Good old McCarthy.
So yeah, that's like I said, they didn't believe in minimum sentencing except for
That's a secret. But he did do a lot of spying that was pretty obnoxious to all the people, pedophiles that he was spying. I mean, people that he was spying on.
so I mean, like I said, prior to I guess you could say McCarthyism because it seems like it coincides. Minimum sentencing was not a thing that was believed in. It was meant to be a debate and conversation surrounding this person has all of his rights, this person has all of his rights. They interacted and failed to interact in a good way. So, how should the crime then be punished? And it took a whole person approach on both sides because both parties were involved. Now, at some point, that was forgotten, and I think that's part of the downplay is instead of it looking at the government simply trying to interact with people or and leave people imbued with all of their rights, now the government is taking the stance of you are granted your rights. That's what it feels like, and we can suspend them.
They could suspend your rights,
I know, right?
like automatic felonies and taking away your right to vote and bear arms.
Oh yeah,
Weird.
I know. It's so totally weird. They must be confused, right?
I
The
mean, they'll give you your right to vote back, just not your right to bear arms.
it's funny. it's I think that was super funny. I had never seen that one where originally there were 7 crimes that they considered crimes against, humanity, kind of thing, that had a minimum sentence, and then they're like, wait, that's too far. Let's reduce that to 3. Like, where did that mentality go, right?
We voted it away with FDR so that our nation, our government could follow the whims of the people.
Right. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I know that there's been a huge change in sentimentality and that even this whole idea of rights being inherent. And I feel like that's a sad state that things have shifted towards. Um, the whole idea of rights being inherent was so that governments could not take them away. The rights were not something that the government gave or granted. Uh, it was the people that granted the government its power. At some point, I believe that's the mentality that's shifted uh, and reversed it. A lot of postmodernism, right?
Well, when you've got a government that says, "I can take you from your home forcefully, give you a gun, and tell you to kill that person on the other side of the world, and if you don't, I will throw you in jail for the rest of your life." And then they give you the guns, they send you over there, you kill all of the people on the other side of the world, and overthrow whole world wars. So basically, that mentality shifted when we started getting ourselves into world wars, and our government showed that it could just destroy other enemies. And everybody started being a lot more subservient to the government.
That's fair. So getting involved in world wars that we never should have been involved in to begin with, you think?
Say we shouldn't have been involved in world wars, and saying we could have handled the aftermath of world wars quite a bit better.
Oh yeah, definitely could have. I mean, shit, World War II started because the post effects of World War One were never handled well to begin with. Which seems to be
And
coming
if
back
shit
to,
the bed on how we handled World War One, World War Two wouldn't have happened.
yeah. It kind of seems to be also how things were handled after World War II is coming around and trying to start World War III. Shit, right?
Well, remember, the second bombing of Japan was the first bombing of the Cold War.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I get a lot of people are going to say, from a historical evaluation, that it saved lives and stopped the war, but that's kind of a sad.
The war was already over. The war was already over. Russia was set to make landfall and invade Japan on on a ground war, and Japan was already in the process of surrendering. But we had to make sure it happened now instead of before Russia got there.
Well, I think they wanted to make sure we won, and it wasn't Russia taking Japan.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh, like I said, I get the idea, but I feel like it's too easy to try to justify it that way. It's too much of a it's too much of an ends justify the means stance to really look at it that way, because it opened the door for anyone and everyone is a combatant, anyone and everyone is on the table. I don't know. That's my thoughts on it.
And that segued into McCarthyism because anybody and everybody was a combatant. And if you weren't with us, you were against us.
Exactly. It wasn't a government and an army against the government and an army anymore. Eh,
Anyway, now that I derailed your whole thought process,
no, no. I mean, that's it's valid. I mean, it's explaining. I think it definitely goes into how things evolve to where they are today, and so far away. It's almost like I said, it feels like it's a backsliding. We've backslid away from the idea of a government that was meant to be incapable of becoming too strong or too corrupted. And you're absolutely right, though. I mean, the people voted it into the position that they are by fear mongering. That's how we are. That's how we got where we are now. Was the fear mongering that allowed things such as depriving the state of any say in government, uh, and protection of people's rights within those states. It's no longer a group of municipalities forming states that then form the federal government. It's top down now instead of bottom up.
well, and that's the thing is that that was the original purpose was, bottom up. People formed counties, or people formed towns, towns formed counties, counties formed states, states formed country.
Right.
And with that process, that allowed everything to work. But then we started getting away from that process where it's government forming country. The government says we are the country, and everybody loses their representation in the millions and millions and millions that are voiced as one, etc., etc. When it never should have been that way, because at the end of the day, we all should have kept our own individual funness. And if you have a state that's dedicated to hookers, blow, and gambling, you should be free to go to that state. And if you don't like hookers, blow, and gambling, then don't go to that state.
Yeah.
If you do like hookers and blow and gambling, Vegas is gorgeous this time of year.
I the more I think about it, I think it.
However, even Vegas has outlawed hookers and blow. They've only got the gambling left, which is pretty sad.
I thought they still had the Bunny Ranch.
There are two counties in Nevada where prostitution is illegal in all forms.
Oh,
Do you know where those two counties are?
not Vegas, I doubt.
It's the county that Vegas is in, where
Really?
prostitution is illegal. Yeah,
Wow.
prostitution is illegal in Vegas. And in Carson County, where Reno is.
Okay.
Those are the two counties where prostitution is illegal. Everywhere else, it's legal. Not the most popular city and not the ruling city. Those two cities, it's illegal.
Huh.
Popular image.
Yeah.
No, it's actually because they didn't want to put they didn't know how to tax it properly.
It's income.
They actually had
Self-reported income,
they
man.
had all kinds of they had all kinds of debates about what kind of income it was and how it should properly be taxed. And because of the amount of trade that would go through Vegas, they just outlawed it. And Carson City, they're more important than that. So we can't have hookers in our capital,
Oh no, of course not. That's ugly, right?
right?
Politicians would get nothing done.
Right.
I
All of it does explain why politicians get nothing done.
Yeah.
We just call them lobbyists now.
I I honestly feel like it was a selling off of responsibility. If you really look at it, uh, the way everything was structured, it put all the responsibility on each and every individual. Uh, you were responsible for yourself and all of your actions. I feel like with the fear mongering that occurred, especially World War One, World War Two, maybe it had a societal impact of all that that allowed people to be gripped by it to a point where when this figurehead came in saying, I'll make everything better, people were ready to abdicate their own personal responsibility to the government. And that's what has allowed things to grow as they have. People collectively gave up their responsibility to themselves and the responsibility to hold the government accountable. And by giving away that power, that's how things have become what they are today.
You don't have to beat around the bush. FDR was a dick.
Yeah, FDR was a dick. I get it. That doesn't need to be said. That's just a fact. But I'm thinking that's how
Well, we got new viewers who haven't partaken in our previous conversations. Go ahead and enlighten them on how FDR is a dick.
FDR was everything but openly a or what was he openly?
New Deal guy.
Was he openly like
Openly what?
Socialist, communist?
No, he wasn't communist at all.
I think he was part of like a socialist party though. Or maybe it wasn't called that back then.
What it was is his party toted social reform.
Right.
His party toted social projects under the guise of being social works. But in reality, what it was they were a means for the federal government to take control of the states.
Right.
So that he could manage the country the way he thought the country should be managed, without those pesky states interfering.
It was all basically
shit done.
Yeah, it was all basically anti-federalist or anti-republic. But everyone wants to say, or a lot of people will try to say the reforms made everything better, which arguably then you have to say, well, let's measure it. How was it actually better? What's better today than it was then? And did the things that were changed have to be done the way they were done in a top-down fashion instead of it being a bottom-up work or project? And as far as I'm concerned, FDR was anti everything the United States Constitution stood for, which was self-government.
Everything the United States government stood for.
Right. He opened the door and paved the way for the government to begin reaching and grabbing and gobbling up power in every shape and every way that it could desire to. And also forever federal or forever executive branch agencies. It's not something that you create this executive agency to investigate, do something, and then shut down. Now they're all forever agencies.
Well, and it gave the government the power that it needed to pull the states into heel, as he put it.
Right. Which was never meant to be the case.
It was never meant to be the case. The states were directly responsible for pulling the federal government into heel.
Exactly.
And the moment he managed to bypass that, the federal government was able to run amok.
Well, yeah. Once the states had no veto power anymore, that that's what happens.
Well, they still have their same veto power. It's just they don't have the balls to use it because the senators aren't looking out for their states. The senators are looking out for getting reelected.
Yeah, well, I mean, even the governors now.
And that never should have been the case.
No, never should have been the case. Even the governors are, well, except for maybe Texas anyway. But even the governors aren't going to try to veto the federal government because then they would lose all their state funding from taxpayer dollars.
Well, and that starts that cycle. I mean, if you want me to, I can go back to the Montana speed limit incident.
1996, wasn't it?
Somewhere in the early 90s.
Yeah.
And it was all because of FDR, meth, and DARE.
Yeah. I but no, even the school programs, they don't really teach civics like they used to. I think people barely understand, the civics beyond, what actually is, which is uh, the presidential branch, the lobbyist branch, and the corporate branch, right, of the governments.
No, it's pretty much the lobbyists, and then the
Oh yeah, let's not forget.
pretty much just the lobbyists.
Yeah, and payoffs, bribes. Can't forget bribes.
I don't know. We call that lobbying. I figured since all the TikTok girls are doing it, I should do my hair while we're doing this.
Oh,
pretty.
that is some beautiful hair there, Don. Don't get everyone too excited now. But I guess if anybody is curious about any of the things that we've been talking about, look up common law, look up the uh, original the original the founding fathers original discussions regarding the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. It's very plainly not at all what it has become today. The original idea was that the federal government was restrained, just as you said, by the states and then by the people. And oh yeah, that's beautiful, Don. That's beautiful.
That was a good one. Yeah, I like that. That's a good one. Yeah. All right, now I did a thirst trap for all those ladies out there who were listening, watching.
You could take the recording and start your own OnlyFans, right? And the originally they did not. Well, the funniest part was the huge debate and huge fight over whether or not there needed to be a spelled out Bill of Rights. There was a group that thought, well, this doesn't need to be explained because we should all understand these things. And then and they felt that if it was defined, that would then also become a precedent to limit rights.
Which it immediately was.
And then there was the group that felt that the Bill of Rights needed to be defined as a limitation upon the government itself, saying, basically saying no laws shall be passed limiting these things whatsoever. I suppose both sides.
All that we just kept amending it.
Right. I suppose both sides had a valid argument. That's also why the 10th Amendment came to be, saying that this enumeration is not a limit upon the people's rights, because anything not enumerated is retained by the states and the people, which is a joke of an amendment nowadays. They don't, lawyers and judges consider it a joke.
No. perfect example would be the federal speed limit on interstates in Montana.
Go ahead. I know you love to tell
No,
this
no.
story.
Oh, it's, So, anyways, so back in the day, Montana didn't have a speed limit, and it was glorious because they all agreed that they didn't give two shits because there was like four people in the state. And so, well, if you go see the core of it is back to FDR.
Mm-hmm.
Because before FDR, what would happen is states would collect money to manage the interstates within their borders.
Right.
Because that was each state's. Federal government had no say so in the interstates. Very little. And so the state would manage the interstates within its border. And the only thing that they had to do with the other state was, making sure they connected.
Right. Right.
You want to make sure that the new this road isn't 4 feet to the right of where the old road was.
Right.
That type of shit.
Yeah, which I think they did successfully.
Yeah, they did it just fine before FDR got involved. However, one of FDR's New Deal things was we're going to revamp the entire American interstate system. So we're going to take a bunch of money from everybody during the Great Depression. But don't worry because it's going to create a shit ton of jobs. That's what you guys want is jobs. It's going to create a shit ton of jobs. If only I could get these pesky senators to agree with me on this. So you should make the senators popular vote. That way, the senators will do what you want. Now, senators weren't ever supposed to be popular vote. They were supposed to be state elected.
Right. So for any of the viewers out there, senators were never elected by Democratic vote prior to FDR fucking that up. Senators were meant to be a representative of the state instead of a representative of the people, uh, respecting the state's rights and also as a stopgap against executive branch encroachment on state rights. That was changed to make them a Democratic vote from popular vote under FDR's presidency because they kept telling him, you can't do that because you're removing state power.
That's the state's job. The state's going to keep its job. You need to get the fuck out of our state. Is what the senators kept telling FDR, and he didn't like that. So he circumvented the system, got them elected by popular vote, and he was the popular one.
So, oh, and how did he do that exactly? That was my favorite part. Gaslighting.
No, FDR, no.
Look, I'm trying to do these things that's gonna take more money and make the Great Depression last so much longer. But I'm doing it for you.
I'm trying to create shit tons of jobs, and the state, the senators keep blocking me. You need to get rid of them, people, so that I can create these jobs for you.
Fucking stupid.
Yeah. So after that, federal, the federal road, blah blah blah, whatever the fuck they call it. So the highway system goes into effect, right? Now, still managing the highways, so maintaining the highways was no longer the state's job. Managing the highways was. So Montana was like, we don't need a speed limit. We don't give two shits. There's not enough accidents. There's not enough problems. If we had a speed limit, it would require somebody to enforce that speed limit. We don't want to waste our cops' time doing that. So that's how it was all through the 80s and early 90s. They were like, fuck this, it's not a problem.
Yeah.
It's not a problem. and they had more issues with people hitting deer than they did people speeding and hitting each other. They didn't give two shits. Now the federal government, wanted to say the speed limit should be blah blah blah. Here's all the things that we set up, saying what the speed limit should be in this, at this point, blah blah blah. Here's all this. And Montana was like, yeah, that's going to cost a shit ton of money that we don't want to spend on it because it's not a fucking problem.
Yeah.
So the feds were like, well, we're not going to give you certain other programs that we run unless you do. And Montana was like, oh, we really don't need those programs. Go fuck yourself. So Montana was happy. Everybody was happy. Then Montana started having problems with meth. So meth. Well, first it was barbiturates and speed, and then it was meth. And so Montana was like, hey, we want this really cool program the federal government's launched called DARE. Drug Abuse Resistance Education.
Yeah, which I think that created more drug users than it did actually prevent drug use.
I mean, it sure as fuck taught me how to make a bong. I didn't know how to make a bong before I went through that program.
Right? Yeah, we probably went through it around the same time.
Well, I'm older than you, but
barely
older than me. Yeah, I'm still older than you, youngin. Let me tell you about how things were back in my day.
Oh yeah. All right, boomer.
Hey, I'm still a millennial, thank you. First year. I'm year one.
I was trying to sneak in a joke, It's fine.
Anyways, so there they were, minding their own, and they were like, we got a problem with people on drugs. So how about you hook us up with that sweet ass DARE program, because you're promising DARE is going to be the solution to everything.
Yeah.
So how about you hook us up with that? And the federal government's like, your people can go fuck themselves because you don't play by our rules and have a speed limit on your interstates. And since you don't have a speed limit on your interstates, we won't give you we won't give you the DARE program.
Yep. You're frozen with the mug in place again now.
Nice.
It was like this.
Well, I've lost your video, so.
Well. At least the recording's still going.
Yeah, let me drop out of the call. Oh, I think you're coming back. Am I back?
Yeah, you've been back.
Oh, okay. No, that's going to be a horrible camera angle. Anyways.
Well.
Was my audio going?
Yep, your audio kept going the whole time. We got it all.
All right, so bless Montana's little heart. They held out as long as they could.
Yeah, I mean, till the 90s is pretty damn good.
Right? But then finally the tweakers got them. The state ran out of catalytic converters, the whole 9 yards. That wasn't a thing. 2000.
Well, no, hold on. I mean, if we're gonna deep dive on that one, I mean, I would imagine that if they were able to do the things that they did in L.A. and in New York and all that, with crack, it wouldn't surprise me if they pushed that stuff in Montana just to get you guys under heel, or to get Montana under heel anyway.
Yeah, you guys, I'm not from Montana.
You're from somewhere over there in the Midwest. I don't know.
I know. It's the dry, shitty version of Montana.
One of those states over there, if you're putting together all the states, I mean, those are all the ones that you start to forget where they go.
So anyways, yes, so Montana implements a speed limit, and for the longest time, they managed to hold out for years and years on just not enforcing it. But eventually the feds started sending feds to enforce it because Montana wasn't. And the feds were a problem with enforcing it, so Montana like, fine, we'll fucking do it ourselves.
Well.
Yes, long story short, That is, speakers are the reason why Montana has a speed limit, because the federal government took power that they don't need
And never should have had.
and never should have had because of FDR.
Yep.
Because that's what happens, everybody, when you don't have a senator that is there to protect your state's interest.
Or
That's
what?
senators were there for originally. Senators existed for the sole purpose of protecting the states from the federal government. Those are two separate entities that should have always stayed separate. And FDR fucked us all on that.
Well, let's also be honest. It all started with people deciding, I don't want to have responsibility.
Yeah, that's what FDR told them.
Yep.
FDR said, all this bad shit is happening because you guys have been trying to think for yourselves, but you're all acting as individuals, and we need to act as one nation. But to act as one nation, we should elect everybody so that we can act as one and get rid of these people that don't act together. You know, like the people who are protecting the states from the federal government, called senators.
It allowed a consolidation of power, and then, well, that's where we are now.
And that's how you got the war on drugs.
And the war on terror.
And the war on terror.
Yeah.
And the war on obesity. Do you remember that little brief period where we had the war on diabetes? You know what happened with that?
Nothing, like every other one.
No, we enriched our corn syrup so it was better for you.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember that one. Yeah, corn syrup. It's so much
Enriched
better.
corn syrup.
It's actually
Enriched corn syrup is
worse.
so much better than regular corn syrup.
It's actually
It's so
fuck
much
ton worse.
healthier than regular corn syrup. Oh yeah, it's fuck ton worse.
But
that survey, or that scientific study, was brought to you by the exact same scientists that toted for 40 years, went on record before the Senate saying that smoking was actually very healthy and they recommended you should do it.
oh yeah. Lobbyists, right?
No, they were just paid by Philip Morris.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. You
Did you hear? That's actually a perfect example. Perfect example of lobbyists. It's smoking. So back in the 70s, right? One company came out with a cigarette that was no shit, something like 200% healthier than a regular cigarette. They took out a bunch of additives and everything like that, and it was like no shit, legit, a bunch healthier than a regular cigarette, right? You ever hear about that one?
No.
Oh, it's fucking great. So, what happened? So they came out with it, and their whole marketing brand. And this is a not a small company, but it was a good sized company. They'd been selling cigarettes for 20 years at that point.
Yeah.
And they were competing with the big guys, Philip Morris and all those guys, right? And so Philip Morris came out. So they come up with a cigarette, and basically, because you know how cigarettes in the process, you harvest the tobacco. Originally, you harvested the tobacco and sold it.
Yeah.
Made it into a cigarette. Boom, there you go. Nowadays, you harvest tobacco, add a bunch of shit to it to make it healthier. Oh, I should do air quotes. Healthier, and then put it out to market, right? But all those additives they figured out back in the 70s were really fucking bad. Like, well, they add fucking formaldehyde to it, for Christ's sakes.
Well, yeah.
I mean, it's pretty fucking brutal. So anyway, one cigarette company came out and said, hey, our cigarettes taste better. They're healthier. They're just overall better for you. And that was their marketing campaign, right? So they put these cigarettes out to market, and they're like, these are the healthier alternative. These are healthier cigarettes, right?
As much as a cigarette can be healthier, yeah.
Yeah, well, they didn't say they were healthy. They said they were healthier.
Right.
Right? So then Philip Morris comes in and sues them to the fucking ground. sues them to the ground. And their basis for suing them to the ground was the idea that saying that their cigarette was healthier than a regular cigarette implied that there was something unhealthy about regular cigarettes. And that was slander. And they brought in their panel of scientists, nationally recognized, even the head of the FDA. The head of the FDA went on record before Congress stating that those were baseless claims that cigarettes were perfectly healthy.
Yeah. Like they do.
Now,
They still do the same shit today.
So, but that company ceased to exist within a year of releasing that brand of cigarettes. They literally just ceased to exist.
Yeah.
Because they made the mistake of implying that cigarettes were unhealthy, which would have hurt Philip Morris. And you don't want to do that. Then flash forward, 20 years, and those same scientists are like, oh yeah, our data, silly data. We didn't have all the right data. Cigarettes may be unhealthy a little bit.
Oh yeah, maybe. No, it's I mean, they're basically in situations where they're untouchable.
Well, that's what happens when your states can't protect themselves from the federal government doing whatever the fuck it wants. And your states can't protect themselves because they don't have senators to do that. Sorry, I derailed your comment.
No. I mean, that's a great conversation that I think a lot of people probably they may not, understand the gravity. So hopefully it helps people understand. That's the point. So because there are still people
your senators protect your state's rights.
But they did. They should.
That's what they were there. That's what they're there for.
Not what they do anymore.
Yep. The Senate is there to protect the state's rights. If you want something done, you want your voice heard in front of Congress, that goes through your House of Representatives. It's literally in their fucking name.
Yeah.
The representatives of the people in the state are the House of
Representatives.
The Senate protects the states. We need to get back to that. If we don't get back to that, then we won't have states anymore.
No, they'll just be in name only.
We just have lines on maps.
I think that's a good amount of time. Good stopping point.
I think it's a good amount of my balls. I could talk about this for hours.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, we need to break it up though.
Fuck the federal government.
Fuck the federal government.
What's the list of words you can't say? Just so we need at least one listener in the NSA. So what are the words we can't say?
Let's see. We're not supposed to talk about terrorist attacks. Planning a terrorist attack.
We both know those aren't the words you're not allowed to say.
I don't know.
No, you don't know those aren't the words you aren't allowed to say. I looked at the list.
Oh, you did? You found a list of words we're not supposed to say.
Yeah, back when I had top secret clearance.
You want to read it off?
I don't have the list anymore, but they're not the words you would think. Oh, see? As soon as I said that, my screen flickered. Got our listener. There we go.
I mean, there's
Mr. NSA.
Well, I mean, there's
I can't be sexist. Hi, Mr. or Mrs. NSA.
I mean, there's all kinds of things you're not supposed to say. Like how
the way it worked when we launched this program back post 9/11, when we were allowed to listen to everybody to find those pesky terrorists. The way it worked is all calls are being recorded.
All calls are being monitored. Yeah, all calls are being monitored.
But what happens is it goes through a computer system, and the computer system has points assigned to every word
Right.
and or combination of words. And then once it hits a certain number of points, then it gets flagged and reviewed.
Right.
So, but the words aren't the obvious ones, like saying Muhammad Jihad, bomb America, death to the infidels. That doesn't actually do shit.
No, it's a collection of words that if those are all counted in a conversation, the conversation's probably along certain topics. Like the topic of saying that people in let's say people in the state of Michigan should be collectively forming militias to enforce
Militia is another one.
Their intrinsic rights and stop the governor from trying to take away those rights or stop the state from taking away their guns.
Guns is not one of them.
Guns is not one of them.
Guns isn't even high on the list.
But I believe it's take away phrases like that.
Artillery. Artillery.
Oh, yeah.
Artillery is not one of them either.
You get like old-fashioned artillery, set it up near a major city in like a, I don't know, abandoned warehouse and shell the shit out of it.
See, I thought he said Hillary, and saying that you have information.
Hillary too.
Saying that you had
Are
information.
You really talking about shelling the shit out of a city with artillery while we're recording?
Hey, wait, Don. I may have information that would lead to the arrest of Hillary Clinton.
Oh no, that's just a death warrant. They don't think that. Nobody has enough information to lead to the arrest of Hillary Clinton. They're all dead. I mean, they all killed themselves.
Yeah, they all killed themselves by shooting themselves twice in the back of the head.
Oh, you know what? You know what our next one should be on?
What?
Our next one should be on how the pedophile ring is cannibalizing itself.
I mean, I would have to look at a lot of information on that one. I mean, I honestly don't know enough.
Oh, it's pretty straightforward. Basically, all this P. Diddy stuff, P. Diddy's a pedo.
Yeah.
He's been a pedo for years. Yeah, right.
I love how it looks like Oprah Winfrey knew all of the pedophiles.
Oh, no, you can... Oh, hold on.
Hold on there, yeah.
The video went out of...
Waiting for it all to catch up. I get it.
Yep. Oh, there we go. Yeah, you can actually pull up not only pictures, but pictures with testimonial of Oprah handing off girls. Like, literally, there's pictures of her introducing girls to Harvey Weinstein, and the girls were like, he fucking raped me, and she introduced me.
Yeah, no, I know. It's sad.
I mean, that was before they killed themselves. They were so overwhelmed by the story and they said that it was all a lie and then killed themselves.
Oh yeah. But yeah, so I mean, if you want to, you pick the topic next time.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be the pedophile ring collapsing in on itself and sacrificing all of the blacks sacrificing all the stars to keep the politicians covered.
Sure.
Hoping that the public is satiated enough by throwing all these stars under the bus that they leave the politicians alone.
Well, yeah, of course they can't. They can't throw the politicians under the bus. That would affect their power base.
Well, the politicians write the laws,
Yeah, they can always make a new star, like Taylor Swift.
Yeah, or actually, you want a really good one. Cat Williams called that one out on making a new star.
Yeah,
Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart?
They made him.
Yeah.
Kevin Hart literally did not exist as a comedian before he was in the movies. And then all of a sudden, he's got comedy shows that are sold out, etc., all this stuff. He literally, none of the comedians knew who he was before he got his big break. Yeah. I'm going to blame him. Yeah, right.
All right. Well, let's not talk about it too much. We can talk about all that.
It's more jealousy. Yeah. More jealousy that he had that opportunity.
Let's not talk about it too much.
So
We
anyway,
can save that for the next one.
so you know what I learned this weekend?
What'd you learn?
Um, what's short, young, and can't breathe underwater?
Short, young, and can't breathe underwater?
Hmm.
I don't know, Don. Please tell me.
Apparently, babies.
Yeah, no, I think that not just babies, but yeah, that's wow.
So anyway, the things
That's
we
not
learned
where
this
I thought
weekend,
that
guys.
was going. I thought that was going to be a joke, Don. Jesus.
It was a joke. Totally,
That's some,
totally a joke.
yeah. Well, there's the dark humor insert.
Just set the proper expectation.
Yeah, yeah,
Can't let these guys, we gotta. These conversations are going to get a lot darker. We might as well, ease them into it a little bit.
yeah. Well, I mean, when you're cooking cookies in a car, the cookies aren't done until the baby stops crying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's how you know.
So anyway, with that, I think we should go ahead and call it a recording.
Did you know that before we stop the recording, did you know that young adult otters, males specifically,
Yeah.
females don't do it. It's just the males. Um, because of the way otters mate, they basically hold the males hold the female's head underwater and then pump the shit out of them.
Yeah.
They're actually there's quite a problem with young adult male otters pumping baby seals to death.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, because they hold their faces underwater until they drown while they're busy pumping them. That's a thing.
Well, it's a dangerous world out there.
Well,
They're just trying to figure out what the time frame is. I mean, I'm sure they'll figure it out. That also would make me believe that female otters like being choked. Maybe.
it's mostly so that they can't get away. They get more submissive when they're being drowned. Yeah, there's a lot of rape in nature. There's
Yeah.
actually a lot of rape in nature.
Well, yeah. They're not trying to make the
Male
world
penguins pretty much will hump anything.
trying to make the world a better place is pretty much a human condition. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Animals just hump shit and go to sleep.
yeah, they have fewer things that they're trying to accomplish to make them happy. While you know, like I said, trying to make the world a better place is a human condition mostly.
So, speaking of making the world a better place,
Yes.
senators need to be assigned by the state legislatures and not in by popular vote. It's the only way to get control back from the federal government.
Yeah, and someone needs to slap the federal government across the face, letting them know that those are our rights, not yours.
Yes.
Well, anyway, with that, thank you for your time, Don.
No, thank you for your time.
All right.
And feel free to like and subscribe if you want to hear more about baby seals being humped to death.
Yes, yes.
Penguins will
And
do it
recipes
too.
for cookies.
Yes, cookie recipes. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I got a lot of work to do now. I have placed the cart
Yeah.
before the horse, so to speak. So,
Now you got to edit this.
not just that.
Good luck.
This is made a recording before anything else is even set up. So, yeah.
No, you can just put it on the RSS one with our other podcasts.
Maybe. Yeah. Well,
Is it still recording?
yes, it is still recording, but I'll
Because
turn
it
it
would
off
be
now.
super convenient for you to. No, don't turn it off now.
Oh, okay.
Because I literally segued into our other podcasts Oh, you should say something about the other podcasts
Oh,
that you've been
our
putting so much work into for a fucking year.
our
And
D and
don't
D.
advertise at all. You've got a perfect advertisement platform right here. Because if anybody's going to watch this and they tolerate the shit out of that, you know,
Yeah,
that baby joke,
yeah.
then they would like our D&D channel.
Well, yes, we have our D&D channel. I believe it's actually labeled.
Technically not a D&D channel because we play Pathfinder.
Well, yeah,
But if you don't know what the difference between D&D and Pathfinder is, you don't need to be fucking listening to us anyway.
and it's basically
Because-
it's all D&D anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, you should check us out. Adventures in North.
No, I refuse to associate Pathfinder with what 5th edition became.
That's fair.
5th edition is a stain on the humanity. Not as big of a stain as 4th edition, but a stain nonetheless.
I'm sure a lot of people just think that it skips from 3.5 to 5.
Well, with good reason. Nobody should remember the atrocity that was 4th edition. That was a direct result of the popularity of World of Warcraft. You can blame 4th edition on Warcraft.
Pretty much.
Everybody wanted their fucking MMOs. Let's do an MMO on paper. That's a great goddamn plan. It was not a great plan.
No. But anyway, that's enough. I'll talk to you later, man.
All right.
All
Are
right.
you actually going to hang up on this or
Yeah.
just
Anyway.
stop the recording?
Later, dude.